Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 16mm Film Crew podcast. I'm Cindy.
And I'm Dale.
You can watch us on YouTube. You can like and comment on our YouTube videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can support us on Anchor. You can listen to us everywhere podcasts are found at 16mm Film Crew Podcast and leave a rate and review. You can visit us on our website at www.16mmfilmcrew.com. So this week, we watched Crimes of the Future, directed by David Cronenberg. Here is your synopsis. As the human species adapts to a synthetic environment, the body undergoes new transformations and mutations. Accompanied by his partner, celebrity performance artist Saul Tenser showcases the metamorphosis of his organs. Meanwhile, a mysterious group tries to use Saul's notoriety to shed light on the next phase of human evolution. So this premiered at Cannes this year, and it stars Viggo Mortensen, Seydoux, Kristen Stewart, and Scott Speedman. Dale, tell us about your thoughts on this movie.
I don't know. Initially, I was interested in it because it's Cronenberg. He's one of those directors. He's an auteur, if I'm pronouncing the word correctly, when it comes to being a director. He doesn't really go for movies that are going to be, box office smash hits or, those movies that, capture a large audience. He's like literally the guy's like everybody else is, no, I make art, he's that kind of director. This in like the midpoint, like my initial watching of it, as you're getting into it, like until the midpoint or near the latter half of the movie, I was like, yo, what is this movie about? Like I couldn't figure it out, and it wasn't till like that last act where everything just clicks, and I kind of get what the movie's about, or my interpretation of the movie's about. Because the amazing thing about movies like this is you can come up with a bunch of different not theories but connections to it. Like there's always, every movie has subtext to a degree, unless it's like an action movie to a degree sort of, but movies like this always have subtext, and it's always up to the viewer on what connection they form to understand the subtext of the movie. And it wasn't until going back online and everybody's like talking about discussing it, like trying to, like, somebody was like, oh, Cronenberg said the movie's about this, but then now he's saying it like that, and everybody's realizing, like, yeah, sometimes movies can have more than one, element or theme going through it. And it wasn't until I read some of the other comments, like stuff that I infringed and thought the movie was about. It wasn't until people were saying, no, I thought it was this. I was like, wow, it's amazing. Like we could all see the same movie and pick out different things about it. So yeah, that's like I enjoyed after like getting into like the third half of the movie where everything starts to like click and make sense to a degree. I was like, yeah, I really enjoyed, the movie for what it was.
Yeah. This is my first David Cronenberg movie. I've never seen any of his films before. So I had no real understanding of like what kind of a filmmaker he was. Like I heard that, yeah, he does like weird stuff and he's an auteur and he's a artist kind of filmmaker where it's very much like the artistry is the most important part and then like everything else kind of comes after that. So that's the only context I had for his movies. So I didn't really know what I was getting into, basically, is what I'm saying. I will say the viewing experience was interesting. There was a guy who sat behind me who like laughed in this really like weird, like almost cartoon villainy kind of laugh every time there was like boobs on screen or like someone did something weird. He would just like bust out into this laughter. And again, like the movie theater was not full. Like there was just a limited amount of people there. So it was very weird to hear like this burst of laughter. And I'm like, did a 15-year-old sneak into this movie theater? Like what actually is going on right now? And then he clapped at the end. He was one of those people who claps at the end of movies. And then he like ran out. So that was quite interesting. But I was just sitting there being like, what is this? Like most of the movie, I was like, what? And then I kind of understood like what was going on. Like I got that, okay, this is almost like a science fiction-y kind of thing. This is a dystopian future, whatever. And our bodies are evolving very fast. And so, we're trying to figure that out. And then performance art and performing surgery and people is like enjoying it and like getting off on pain and stuff like that. I was researching a book called The Book of Joan, and in this book they kind of do this theme, which is about like people who like burn their skin to have some type of like feeling or emotion or like pleasure because they don't have any sexual organs. So like the only way that they can have any type of like feeling or intimacy is through like self-mutilation, basically. So I kind of got where we were going when it came to this premise because it's sort of the same thing. So I was like, okay, I can be on board with it. I have a little bit of, I don't know, background and like understanding what's happening here. But even so, it was weird. It was just a very weird film. And then it felt like it just ended without, it felt like we were going to get more answers to stuff. And then it just ended. And I was like, oh, okay, so what? It was just a very confusing, I don't know what this was for real. I'm not really sure. Like, it seems like it would have been like a good miniseries. Like, I would like to, because the world building was interesting. Like, I was kind of interested in seeing, like, how did we get here? What are the rules? Like, let's dig more into that. But I don't really know what I saw.
I think like what you said like a while ago, the one thing that you keyed on like a while ago for me was you said it was almost like a dystopian future in a way, which helps set up the key premise of the story. Like all the buildings are run down. They're wearing like cloths, and it's like I love elements like that, and it also adds to the story as well. Because when you look at the technology looks very like human bones and organic kind of thing, and I love those touches because it kind of helps build the story and put you through. Because if you look at technology now, like people always say, the technology looks very alien, very sterile. Where in his vision of the future, based on what we're going on, they're trying to reharken, make the future like the technology look almost human. Like everything is like looks like it's organic, like it looks like bones and stuff like that. So I love those touches, and it helps set the tone of the story. Like people trying to capture stuff at law, like the fact, like you said, they don't have any their sense of pain is like dulled. So their only form of pleasure in a way, like Kristen Stewart says, pain is like sex. Like surgery for him in performance art is a sexual thing for him. Like you have him and Leia Seydoux, they go into like the device that's called a coffin. They just embrace and they're stabbing each other, and it's like in those scenes they started to click for me because I started thinking about like it's like the same concept of autoerotic fixation. When people like being choked and stuff like that. It's like I was like, okay, this makes sense because those are things people do. And I love how like one of the themes I'm probably, if I'm being honest, like people who are probably listening to the podcast are probably not going to watch this movie because it's not a movie for them. But the harshest scene for me, and it's jarring and it's weird, it's the opening scene where the mother kills the son. And it's weirdly jarring in a way because the movie ends in such a calm and peaceful manner that the opening scene is a mother killing her son. You bookend it with him, being peaceful and happy. Like the whole situation comes full circle. One of the points somebody made about the element of the young boy, whereas like I said in the third act is where you're able to connect the dots. Where, of course, Scott Speed's character kind of really gives you the whole story of what's happened to human society, as to what's going on. Basically, pollution and stuff like that. You know, our bodies are evolving to handle the waste we created, which is plastic, and they're making bars. And then you've got, Saul, the Viggo Mortensen's character. He's kind of in his way rebelling against the human change by, having surgery on himself to remove those new organs. And you have, him working as an informant for the police, where the government is kind of restricting that change. They don't want you to change. We're going to quantify what makes a human no matter what. Like, it's a lot of elements we deal with today. Like, you see the issues with not just transgender athletes, but even athletes like a lot of women who have too much testosterone. You have the Olympic Committee trying to quantify what makes a woman, like, oh, if you have this much testosterone, you're automatically disbanded. So it did, like, the movie delves into a lot of real world things. Like, he says, oh, I have a political issue. Like, that whole context of cataloging and quantifying what makes a human is, or a man or a woman is, currently a political issue. You have the issue of, we've polluted the world so much. Our only, viable food source is to eat plastic. It's so many of those elements and so many of those themes are running through. Like, and that's why I said it wasn't until I, the pollution side clicked for me, and the stuff with, like, transgender clicked for me afterwards, after talking and reading people's comments. This is one of those movies where you could take it either left or right, or whatever conclusion you want to make, and 9 times out of 10 you're probably going to be correct about the subtext and the meaning of this movie.
Yeah, so Cronenberg said that he really didn't care if any of the actors understood the meaning behind the story, and he just wanted to elicit a raw performance. He said you cast brilliant actors who are just right for the role, and it doesn't matter if they think they don't know what they're doing. I've had many actors say, I don't know what I'm doing. And I say, yeah, you just keep doing that. I really want to see what the actor's intuition is and what the actor brings. So I guess even the people who were performing in this movie had no idea what they were doing for real. And I think that's funny because he said something similar. I remember listening to a Robert Pattinson interview when he was saying, like, he also didn't know, like, what the script was about, and Cronenberg was like, me either, which is like, okay, well, fine. Like, I mean, at least you're honest. Like, I don't know. I think that's fun though. I would think that as an actor, that'd be fun, just to, like, have a director be like, yeah, do whatever feels right. But I think you're absolutely right about, like, this story having, like, a lot of meanings, and that it could really mean, like, whatever you interpret it to mean. And I think what I got from it is, like, maybe it's not, like, as we're evolving, he says, like, the main character, Viggo, says something like, when his tumor, I guess, is growing, and Leah's like, oh, how does it feel? And he was like, it just feels different. Like, it doesn't feel, like, worse or better. And I think maybe that's something, like,
yeah,
things are changing. I mean, I don't know if you should be, like, satisfied with the changes. I think you still have, and I think the character still tries to, like, do something, even though, I mean, at the end he makes a decision, and I think that's probably the biggest point, is, like, no matter how you feel about something, you need to, like, choose and, like, and act on whatever you're feeling. I don't really know. Your girl is, like, grasping at straws right now.
Yeah.
So I think that, but, like, just things will change, and that doesn't have to necessarily be bad.
Mm-hmm.
It could just be different, and you just have to go with that.
I think that ending for me, the way it ends with him kind of, like, eating the plastic candy bar, and him being, like, his had discomfort eating. He's in, like, a wooden robot chair trying to digest his food properly. I'm like, that must be uncomfortable as hell. But it's the moment, that whole scene of him, like, he's leaning towards like, oh, I'm rebelling against my body. Oh, you've manipulated your body in order to eat food humans should be eating, and he doesn't believe like the little boy was possible for him to naturally do it. Until
Mm.
he himself is like eats the plastic, and then you see that moment of bliss. He's no longer in discomfort trying to eat his food properly, and I think what that to me symbolizes, change. Like embracing change sucks, but once you embrace that change, it probably does bring a lot more joy and satisfaction. Like that whole scene and his character arc was him constantly rebelling against change himself. Like his body was like, look, I'm making these organs. You need these things. And he's like, nah,
Mm.
F that. I'm taking you out. I'm taking you out. To the point where he had his own catalog of new organs until finally he was like, yeah, I'm just going to let these organs stay for a while. And then
Mm.
he's like, embracing the change. Like that's how we are as humans. We naturally rebel against change. And once we, that change is actually forced upon us and it happens, we tend to like, why didn't I ever do this before? That kind of almost regret kind of thing, so
Mm.
yeah.
So here's where I'm confused, because I feel like the main story where with Viggo and Leah makes sense. It's like they're pushing back against whatever evolution is happening at the moment. They're trying to understand what's going on. Then there's like a couple of other stories. And we have a story with the guy whose son is dead, right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't seem to mind at all that the son has died. He's just like, y'all can just use him as as a performance piece, like, go off, sis. Like, that was his energy. And I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. And then you have the other story with Kristen Stewart and the manager of that place, where they're getting into the performance art scene, and then like she's trying to get with Viggo, and she wants to be a part of the performance, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
But then nothing happens with that, and then you have like the black man with the detective situation. So I'm just trying to like connect these threads, because I'm like, some of it has to do with each other, but then other things just kind of like start and then they stop, they kind of fall off, and then you never really find out what happens with those things. What does, like, I don't know, the guy whose son died seemed not bothered at all about the kid. And then once the performance wasn't as, I don't know, I guess enthralling as he hoped it would be, or like life changing or whatever, he gets really sad. And I'm like, okay, so what?
Well, I know with that scene though, before he gets murdered, how they close it up is he mentioned before his son was naturally born able to eat plastic, and then he goes and I guess he wants his son to become the symbol for the evolution of humanity. Like he's the first naturally born human who could handle eating plastic without having surgery. And at that point, once his son's dead, he's like, well, I can't use you. I can't use you one way, so I can still use your life and your body in another way. Like I can say, yeah, my wife killed my son because he ate plastic. But look at his body; is nothing surgery done. It's evolution naturally leading humanity on this course. But once the detective's like, yeah, you're not our only person that we to Viggo Mortensen, his character Saul, like you're not the only person who's working for us undercover, trying to stop humans no longer being humans. Like he mentions, like uh Kirsten Stewart's character was actually the person who went and removed all the fake organs, all the new organs from the body. And I do like her character arc in a way, because it's like she's restricted herself from engaging because of she's a governmental worker in a way. She kind of is used to just cataloging and but once she gets introduced to Saul, and she looks at his body like it's a mystery, like all these organs, like it's art, and then all that slowly turns into like almost this infatuation thing for her. And she kisses him, and he's like, yeah, I don't feel the same way about you at all. And she instantly becomes like dejected in a way. But they're both, her and her boss are both enamored in this illegal, almost not organ, but this illegal world that the the government's trying to crack down. It's like, yeah, I'm supposed to be registering the organs. I'm supposed to make sure y'all aren't doing this stuff, but I'm entrapped by this world of body performance. And you have Lea Seydoux' character saying she used to be a surgeon, and her whole thing was, making people look perfect and beautiful. But now, with their whole body performance, her whole mindset is like, even in the ugliness, you can find beauty. That whole kind of thing, which I found was interesting because that's usually the main goal of plastic surgeons is we're gonna make you beautiful. And then she kind of flips like, yeah, no, I'm not with that anymore. I want to, see that disfigurement, this discomfort, and accentuate those kind of things. So I think this movie, why I think people can feel that way is because they're trying to hit on so many topics, and each character fits a topic. That's why I think at certain points where they're switching from different viewpoints or different concepts, why certain character arcs just get chopped off. Because after a while, Kirsten Dunst's character doesn't go anywhere. The detective one, he kind of just stops, even though he himself, his body's changing. He has a lump on his side. That kind of thing. So I don't know. I guess that's why the movie is also kind of hard to understand, because people's arcs just kind of stop kind of awkwardly in a way. I don't know.
Yeah. I made a bet with myself that you were always going to call her Kirsten instead of Kristen. And then you just switched the actress entirely to Kirsten Dunst with Kristen Stewart, which makes me laugh. Which makes me laugh all the time because I knew you were going to do it. I was like, watch him say Kirsten.
Look, at least I'm consistent. Okay.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I don't really know, but also the two girls who were like the maintenance people for the chairs, like they were just going around killing people, and I was like,
yeah,
but they didn't kill Lea Seydoux or Viggo Mortensen. Like they didn't kill those characters. They just killed like random other people.
Yeah, I thought was weird.
I said, explain this, please. Like it just didn't make any sense. I was like, what? Like, who are these two chicks? Like, I was just really confused about what their purpose was in this. And then again, their thing just ended. So it was just like, okay, well, I guess they weren't that important. Like, I don't know. I kind of feel like when you have like such a loose structure, apparently he's been working on this for like years and years. So maybe it wasn't that loose.
Yeah.
But it just seemed like things just happen, and you just have to accept it. And I don't know how I feel about that as a viewer.
I don't know. I'm kind of been like theorizing. I guess their purpose of it is they're also government agents themselves, and their job is kind of to be friendly to Lea Seydoux and Viggo Mortensen's characters. Get close to them in a way to push their mission along to a degree, because the only person they kill other than the father at the end is the guy who's actually creating the whole underground organ beauty pageant thing. So those are like the two main people, I guess, that would be on the government's hit list. Two people who are championing and promoting the evolution of humanity in a way. I don't know, because their characters kind of seem like they were thrown in there to a degree. I think I thought it probably might have worked better if Lea Seydoux was the one killing those two to a degree, until her mindset changes near the end, where she like gets the ridges that look like a Star Trek character put in her head.
Yeah, what was that?
So yeah. I don't know. I think I do understand what Cronenberg's saying, because I remember we said last week, sometimes those movies those strips we spent years going on don't work well. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I think this is one of the few times where it does. And because I think this movie probably went through so many phases or concepts when he was writing it, he left it up to the actors, like they did before. Like, I'm writing the story. I'm writing what I'm feeling, but I want you to put into the character what you think the situation demands. And I think that's a good way of directing, instead of hand-holding your actors, because these are supposed to be you're paying these actors tens of millions of dollars to interpret the character in a certain way. So I think it's a good test of actors' ability to, when the writer goes, yeah, I don't know what the movie's about, You figure it out, and you emote how you think the character emote in that situation. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that's a better testament of your acting skill when you can do a lot with as little hand holding as possible. So,
yeah, I mean the actors were great.
Yeah.
All the actors did a great job. Kristen Stewart is like just getting better with age. Like the more she's doing these movies, the more I was like, yeah, you're really talented. Like I knew it before, but like now now she's a little older, so you can kind of see the maturity. You know, you're not going to act the same when you're 30 than how you were acting when you were like 17. So I like to. I'm loving the growth. Like her character was mad weird, but I really like what she did with it.
Those quirky movements, she was emoting a lot with her body. Yeah,
and it also was very Kristen. Like I couldn't see any other actors doing that kind of performance. Like that seemed very like more in tune with like her actual personality.
Yeah. It was
but
like awkward. Yeah,
those awkward like taking a really long time to say things, whisper speaking. Like oh my god. So this movie is like a body horror movie, which I did not know what that was. But apparently that's what Cronenberg is like known for. I guess this is like his return to body horror. I didn't find it super disturbing. I mean, there were definitely some scenes where I was like, ew. Like the man with the ears didn't like that, but then he started like breakdancing, and I was like, okay, work. But then there's one scene where like Kristen is like putting her fingers in that man's mouth, and I was like, I think this is it for me. I can't take it anymore. That was the last straw. I was like, you put your dirty.
I'm not going to judge. You don't know what happens with some things happen with two consenting adults. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not going to judge on that.
I'm not even saying like a fetish. I'm saying like, did you know if this girl even washed her hands and she's all up in your mouth?
You're finding that awkward, but you don't find Léa Seydoux like opening this man's scar and kissing him. Now that
was weird.
That was weird.
That was weird. I'll give you that. It was weird.
That was weird. And I'm laughing at you talking about the guy when he gets when he saw Léa Seydoux's breasts, he starts cheering. I don't know. For some reason, for me in the movie, when that scene happened, I was like, for some reason, I found it awkward. Maybe because, like, the last year, every movie we've seen, I've just seen, like, dicks in my face, like, back and forth. When I saw a woman's breast, I was like, ew, what's going on? Like,
I love that.
For some reason, I was uncomfortable with that scene with Léa Seydoux naked. I was like, why is she naked? Like, why? I've just been, like, yeah. I don't know.
I will say that it seems like every movie that she's in, except for the James Bond movies, she is naked. I'm like, didn't we just watch a movie with her and I saw her boobs the entire time she was on screen? I'm like, girl, are they just hiding her because they know she'll take her top off? Like, what's going on there? You can definitely tell this movie was directed by a man. I will say that. It's the first thing I noticed. I said, this movie is directed by a Homo sapien of the male variety. Like, he is... Because there was multiple scenes people were just naked, and I was like, well, I don't like. See, that makes me just be like, oh, I don't like that. Like it just because it's like, well, my thing is like they never show people who are like maybe conventionally unattractive naked. It's always people who are attractive naked, which makes me think that that's what you're valuing. You're valuing the attractiveness of these actors, not the fact that maybe you want to see like a scene with this person who's vulnerable or whatever. Like it's not about, it seems like it's more about like, this girl has nice boobs. I want to see those boobs on screen. Like that's the vibe that it was giving me. And I wasn't liking that at all.
That's the industry as a whole though. So.
And that's the industry as a whole. And you know what I'm saying? And that's the problem. The problem is like people try to lie. This is what I was talking about in the Euphoria video. And I feel like I couldn't explain myself because I was so upset. But people try to lie and be like, oh, it's our artistic choice. Like we want to show these people stripped down and vulnerable. And this is the only way that we can show them is if they're naked. And it's like, well, that's not true. You're choosing to do that. Like you're making a choice to have these people naked. You don't need this stuff in the scenes. Like you could have communicated this in a different way and it still would have worked. But you chose to do that. And then you have actors who are going to do it. So it's like, well, you can't really, it's like you can't blame the directors, you can't blame the actors because everyone, because this is different. These are all adults, so it's a different situation, and these are adults with established careers, so it's not the same thing as Euphoria, but it's like, why? It's just why. It was funny that kid behind me laughed.
You're right, because when we first see that coffin device in the movie, it's Viggo Mortensen in it, and all you get is a headshot and a shot of the stomach, like being cut open. But when it's the same thing with Leia Seydoux in it, it's full. She's like, "Oh, you're gonna see everything." Like it would have made sense. Like it would have been fair to me. As far as you didn't really have to show her naked until he enters the coffin thing with her. Then you could show both of them naked, because there's no reason when he's in the device by himself he's fully covered, but when she's in there by herself, she's not. So, and that's Hollywood, and a thing like body standards. You have not take a shot. You can have like a sweetie get a McDonald's meal and drench like ranch and stuff and everything, and people laud her and call her amazing. And then you have Megan Thee Stallion.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, man, she got her own McDonald's meal, and everybody's like, "Wow, that girl doing her thing." And then you have some people think Megan Thee Stallion is unattractive, and you have the opposite end of the spectrum. You have dang, what's her name again? What is her name? I feel so bad for forgetting her name. Dang, chick who plays the flute. Oh my gosh, I feel so mad. Lizzo, yeah. At the opposite spectrum, you have Lizzo, who's working out. Says, "Yeah, I know I'm big, but I still want to be healthy." And the people call her like many derogatory things. Which is weird, because clearly there is a thing where, because Sweetie is attractive, she can eat junk food and you're okay with it, but Lizzo, she's healthy, but because she doesn't look conventionally sexual to you, she's the unhealthy one. So like the industry as a whole has a lot of these issues with not just body positivity, but also depicting sexuality and body parts between men and women. And especially in this picture, that's the biggest example I could think of right now, because Viggo's not naked at all.
All right. Or like, just to go back to the Euphoria thing, like you'll see Maddie naked, but you won't see Kat.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, so are you saying that because she's in a bigger body, her body's less attractive and thus shouldn't be seen on screen? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's stuff like that. It makes you, I don't know, it makes you just distrust any man. Like, we just need more women filmmakers. Because at least if they're naked, it's not going to be like weird or gross, or make you be like, why are you naked? Anyways, sidetrack.
I think it's a needed sidetrack. I think there's there's no reason, especially in this year where the fact that I found the idea of Leia Seydoux naked awkward when every movie's has had bits like that. That proves that there is opportunity not to have women exposed for unnecessary reasons in movies. For the fact that for a whole year I've just been seeing dicks, and I see a woman's breast, I'm currently suddenly put off by the idea of seeing a woman's breast on screen. But that's a secondary. Yeah.
Yeah, anyways, I don't have anything else to say about this movie.
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, well, I saw it.
You saw it.
Yeah, okay, we can go to ratings now, because we can go to ratings.
I mean, you can go first. I think our ratings are going to be really different, because I think I enjoyed this movie a lot more than you did.
I think you did. I think you really did.
I like movies like this where I'm able to like theorize and hypothesize at the end of it. Like as a culture, as a society, we kind of got a glimmer of that at the end of Dang, why am I forgetting names of movies and actors and celebrities now? Oh my gosh, Leonardo DiCaprio, the movie with the top. Oh my gosh.
Oh, Inception.
Yeah, like we had a glimmer of that with Inception. Everybody was like, "Oh, the top spins. The movie's about this. The movie's about that." I think this is one of those movies, but I don't think it's gonna get the chance to reach a audience like that, because it's not that box office, draw. So yeah, for me, the movie, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10. I love the complexity of it. I love the fact that, like I said, you can come up with so many theories of it. But I do think because of the fact you can come up with so many theories of it, it does hamper the success of the movie and the accessibility for everybody to watch it. Because if it's a gift and a curse to have your audience leaving and questioning a movie and talking about it. So, and I think this one of those movies where it falls more on the curse side, where it's so complex. There's so much stuff going on where people could theorize. There are a lot of people who are gonna leave not understanding or knowing what the hell the movie's about. So I'm not surprised that the news out of cans that all the critics and everybody loved it, because this is their kind of movie. Like, critics love watching a movie and coming up with theories and stuff like that. So this is a very much, like I said, an art kind of movie. It's not for the regular box office viewer. You have fans who might like, oh, I like Viggo Mortensen, I like Lisa, I like Kirsten Stewart. I'm gonna go watch this movie and walk out leaving like not knowing what the fuck happened in this movie. So yeah, but for me, 4 out of 10. I mean, 4 out of 5.
I gave it like a 2.5 stars out of 5, I think, on Letterboxd. Yeah, I would have loved, I would have loved if this was a miniseries. I feel like I could really get into it just because I was into what the world was presenting. Like, I actually really did like seeing like what we would be as, like, it feels like evolutionized. I don't know. It feels like we're not progressing in this movie, but I mean, Cronenberg says that it is progressing. Human evolution is progressing in this film, but okay, sure. But yeah, I was into the idea of that. I was into the idea of like the weird crime scene that was happening where like people were trying to get everyone on board with what's going on. I loved how this movie was shot. I loved the score. The score was really good. I loved the production design, like that industrial kind of feel, grungy. It was really cool. Like, I loved the world that they presented. It's just, I feel like too many things were just so left up into interpretation that I couldn't really get anything from it. Like, I left still thinking about it, so that means it's good. But my thoughts were just all over the place and I didn't know what to think. So that's kind of how I feel about it. And like, I don't know. I can't even say if it was good or not. I can't even say that it wasn't good. I just don't know what it is.
You have so many questions. Yeah.
I have too many questions.
Yeah.
It's okay to have some questions. I feel like I'm the type of person who is like, oh, well, I don't want to be handheld through a film, and you definitely don't get handheld through this. But there is a lot of exposition. I don't know. I feel like there was a better way to execute this. That's how I feel.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like if we had like a lot of time to really get into everything, it would be so good, and I would really be into it. But I just feel like I kind of got breadcrumbed to some stuff, and I was.
You're.
So yeah, that.
Yeah. I do think the whole gift and curse of asking questions, and I do think that is a valid point. You know, I do think if it was a miniseries like the rest of the world building, because we see it's there with the set design and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, had the world building been there to, like, if it was a little bit longer, like probably a 2-part miniseries or something on Netflix, or like 5 episodes long, it probably would have helped a lot more to understand it, because you could expand upon those thoughts and theories and connections he's trying to make and help and guide the audience on a little bit more. But so
yeah, but yeah, I'm glad this exists. I'm glad someone gave him money to do this, because it is cool. It's just weird as hell. So